Hello everyone, my name is David Akers. I am a data developer for an StarCraft 2 enthusiast. I've used the knowledge that I've gained over the last couple of years of playing StarCraft and my data development to basically create a custom Power BI dashboard that allows us to evaluate a replay and see a bunch of the data that the players used during their gameplay. Let's take a look at what the dashboard is actually going to look like. You can see here from this drop down that I have a whole bunch of players, a lot of them well known, Vive, Neuro, Game Time. Today we're going to be focusing on mainly Winter because, like I said before, he's got that random. He's random, so he has all the 9 matchups. But we've also got Game Time we might talk about just to kind of show off how you can use multiple different players and how it's going to reflect in here. So let's go ahead and just jump into some of Winter's games. You can see here in the far left, we've got Winter's build order, starting from the very beginning to the very end. You can see what he tried to build and the order he built it in. So if you're a particular player that's wanting to do a matchup against who is he playing against in this particular one, we'll just pick this one right here, PVZ. We can see that Winter went Nexus, Pylon, Gateway, Assimilator. So that's the build that he had in this particular matchup. Now we can see on the left side, or the right side, excuse me, the build order that Blue Noodle had. So Blue Noodle, he went hatch, pool, gas. So we can see that here, and looks like he went for a quick hatchery, a quick third hatchery, with under right at that 2-minute mark that a lot of grandmasters have been starting to do lately. And we can see their build orders, or their build unit composition. So we can see that Winter built 21 depths, immortals, and so forth and so on, just all the units that he built overall. Same thing with Blue Noodle. Now, we get into a little bit more technical by looking at their Player 1 elite units. Now, this is units such as the Mutalisk, the Battle Cruiser, for Zerg, it would be like the Lurkers, things like that, Ultralisk, and you can see that Winter built the most Immortals of all the elite units. Now, he only had one elite unit in this particular one, the Immortal, so it's not a great representation, but it does show you that he built a lot of Immortals. Here you can see the generic. This means that player Blue Noodle did not have any real elite units. I know he's got Swarm Host in there, but that's not really an elite unit that I considered. It is something that I might add in later if the community says that they would like to know when a player builds Swarm Host. That would be an easy update and wouldn't take but just a minute to look at. Now down here we can see what type of rush that they're looking at. So this is another type of query that I've made. Basically it's a measure that's going to look at a couple different things like Ghost Rush, Cannon Rush, Shield Rush, Shield Battery Rush, things like that, and that's going to show down here. You can see that neither player did a real rush, so it's just going to show a generic city that looks pretty to look at. Down here you can see the unit composition. Now this is based on a complex basic query that I created that's going to show, what players built as far as unit comp. For Zerg, we got things like Roach Hydra, Ling Bang Muta, Ling Bang Hydra, things like that. A lot of Protoss, go Mass Storm. So if there's a lot of High Templars versus a lot of Archons, they probably went Mass Storm, and that would be reflected down in here. So let's go back up to here. Let's say we're looking at a particular matchup. Let's say, I'm a Zerg player, and I always struggle against Terran. So let's come down in here, click on a ZVT. That's now going to display the ZVT matchups that Winter has available. So we can see that Winter had a generic build. He had a bunch of battle cruisers built by his enemy. He only had one, but that's the elite unit that he built. So that's what we're going to take a look at. We have Mass Zergling by Winter because that's basically his primary unit. And we have a mixed unit because he didn't really build anything other than, a couple Hellions and a battle cruiser. Now, let's say that I'm really struggling against all right, we're going to take this part out. Take this part out until now. All right, so that's going to allow us to look at what Winter's built versus what player Wham has built. If we want to look even farther, we can look through a couple of these, see if there's anything interesting to look at. We can see that Winter went Ling Bang Hydra. We see a bunch of Lings here, a bunch of Hydralisks, and a bunch of Banglings, and he went Siege Tank Bio, which means that he went a bunch of Siege Tanks and a bunch of Marines, more than his Hellions and, basically a battle mech or a mech build. We can keep coming down, looking at just a couple different examples. Here's a Battle Mech versus Lingbane Hydra. We see that Winter won this one, and he went Broodlords and Thors were the elite units of each player. Now, let's say that I wanted to download this replay because I wanted to watch it. You know, I'm really struggling against Battle Mech, so I want to know how Winter won. So I'm going to just click on this. It's going to take me directly to the StarCraft 2 replay stats. And all I got to do is click right here for the download, and bada boom, bada bing. I'm now downloading the StarCraft 2 replay of Winter versus this barcode. So going back into our Power BI, we can also go even farther by saying, well, I want to know a particular rush that might have been going on. So I'm going to just set this back to the base where it's showing all of the replays. Then I'm really struggling against Cannon Rush. So this is what player 2 did. So I'm going to see all the matchups that player 2 had for Cannon Rush. I'm going to click on this one down here and see, oh, Cannon Rush and Winter won. How did Winter beat this Cannon Rush? We can tell it's a Cannon Rush because there's over 3 photon cannons within less than 3 minutes. So we see that he got Cannon Rushed in the very beginning, ultimately went into Battle Mech versus Mass Storm, with High Templar being the elite unit, the most elite unit with 16, and the Thor being Winter's most elite unit with where is it? No, we're just going to go ahead and set this back to blank, set it back to here. We're going to look at a couple game times replays. Let's see what we got here, just randomly looking through a couple. Got a generic build with a Roach Hydra against a mixed composition. He really didn't have a whole bunch of outstanding strategy. He kind of built a little bit of everything, some High Templars, some Dark Templars, Archons, Immortals, Zealots, Warp Prism, Stalkers, a lot of different things. But we did see that he did a Dark Templar rush. Now, how do we know that? We can look over here and see that there's going to be a Dark Shrine within the first 3.5 minutes, right there. So we know that he went a Dark Templar rush, and we can easily just go click on that replay and see what he did to make his build order and see what Game Time did to fight that. Now, clearly, Game Time won or lost this match, but that's okay. We won't fault him for that. Here we can see that Game Time won with a Roach Hydra composition against a Mortal Elite unit and a mixed composition by Response. So, and if you're looking for a particular matchup, maybe you're looking to improve your build orders, you can come over here to unit composition. This reflects player 1. Winter's got more because obviously he's a little bit of everything. So we can see if we're looking to learn how to build. Let's say we're trying to learn how to build a Widow Mine bio. We see that Winter did that twice in a ZVP and a ZVZ. You see that he had a bunch of Marines, Marauders, Widow Mines, Medivacs, things like that. We can see that clearly down here against a mixed unit composition, no particular rush but High Templar. And that is how we are able to basically improve if we want to learn how to do a particular type of build based off, player 1. Let's see, I'm doing it down here as well. All right, so this is a Widow Mine bio versus Mass Zerglings, and he has the most elite unit with Mutalisk. Looks like he had about 30 of them. He had a couple Banglings and Zerglings, but it was, for the most part, mostly just Zerglings that he went, so that's why this is considered a Mass Zergling build, not for any other reason based on the logic. So, this is my StarCraft 2 personal customized Power BI using DAX, Python, T-SQL, a little SSIS. If you guys are interested in learning more, subscribe to my channel. I'll probably be making a couple of these types of videos so that you can take a look at what I've done. Let me know if you have any thoughts or ways that I can improve this. I know the audio is not the best. I don't have the recording software on the computer that I built this Power BI on. What the data is looking like. So what I've done is I have created this custom BI script that will reach out to StarCraft 2 replay stats and can find any particular player that I would like to reference and pull back their data on a particular replay. So the player that I used predominantly in Power BI was Winter StarCraft. He's a pretty well-known of his replays, mostly because he plays all sorts of matchups. He plays random, so he can play all 9 different types of matchups. So it gives us a very broad spectrum of data to pull from to create all these custom different dashboards. So the way that this BI works is it pulls from StarCraft 2 replays. It basically deletes anything that's not a 1v1 because that's really what tournament heroes are going to look at, players that are interested in improving their one-on-one game. Um, then it's going to remove player 1, move them into player 2 because not every time the data comes back is Winter StarCraft listed as the first player. So this basically is going to take care of that. It's going to take it from player 1 to player 2 and vice versa. Then it's going to update their races to make sure that Z equals Zerg, P equals Protoss, so forth and so on. And this right here is going to basically look at what is currently stored in the Winter StarCraft database and make sure that we're not pulling back data that we've already extracted from the website and putting it back into our database. So you don't have a database that's going to grow every single time you run this. It's just going to grow by basically what's not in there already and put it in there. So once we've done all that, we're going to come into our Power BI, and this is where the query editor takes over. So we're going to look at our edit queries, and once it gets pulled up, you can see all of the different tables and measures and functions that I've created that basically allow us to look at the data that's going to help create our dashboard. So as you can see here, I have player 1 build order load, player 1 unit comp load. So this is basically telling us what player 1 built as far as buildings and what player 1 built as far as units, their total unit pool. Well, unfortunately, when you pull back from StarCraft 2, it does not, or StarCraft 2 replay stats, it does not pull back all of this type of data. It only will pull back the data listed here. And a couple more things, but not necessary for what we're looking at today. So, for example, if we wanted to go to this particular replay and just open it up in StarCraft 2 replay stats, we can see the buildings that Eon had, and we can see the units that he built. We can also see what buildings Winter built, and we can see what units were built. Well, what I've done is, in order to get around that, is I've made a Python script that will basically do some web scraping to pull back the build order and put it into this nice little format right here that's going to show us exactly the build order that Winter had based on the replay. And I've done that by using an index in my Power BI to basically bridge the gap of there being no real connection between the tables and the replays. This allows the data to sync up nicely to display correctly when we're doing our dashboards. Now down here you can see I've got my images that I'm using, the references, the different base tables that I've created. This is player 1's unit comp, Roach, Drones, Zerglings, Overlord, Hydralisk. This is not in any particular order. This is basically just sorted by the replay, which is not important for the query editor because that's not really what we're interested in. We're really interested in the dashboard, and that's really where the software comes to life. And I'd be more than happy to, go ahead and get the software pushed over to the computer that needs it in order to make it work. But again, guys, your comments and feedback is greatly appreciated. Again, my name is David Akers. This is a custom-built StarCraft replay analysis software. Just let me know what you think, and appreciate your time.